Hi, my name is Jing and I'm your Active Health Lab expert from Sengkang, and I'll be answering your questions from this bowl. Is there an optimal time to go to sleep? Yeah, so I think amount of sleep varies from person to person. So 7.5 is just the rule of thumb. If you're someone who, due to the nature of your job, sometimes we get participants who are working on shift and you can only get 6.5 hours. It still falls back with looking at your productivity level during the day. So if you find that by past lunchtime you're dozing off, and you are resorting to snacking or drinking coffee just to keep yourself awake, then that is indicative that you might need a little bit more sleep. So actually, right, I think it's really down to, I think in Singapore context, a lot of us are bound because of your job. It'll be good to stick to a routine bedtime and wake time. Usually on weekdays, we're quite obedient, but what happens on the weekends or long holidays is such that we have a massive sleep-in. So sometimes a lot of people can be saying that, oh, I have a massive sleep-in for 8 to 9 hours on the weekend, but why am I still feeling exhausted? So this is what we call social jet lag. So social jet lag, okay, is such that on Mondays to Fridays, because of work and school, we kind of go to sleep, let's say standard for kids, 10:30, wake up 6 o'clock, right, to go to school. For adults, same thing. Then on weekends, because we have the luxury of sleeping in, no obligations of waking up in the morning, right? So what happens on Friday? We go out for supper, we go out for late night movie, we party hard, and then we have a massive sleep-in on Saturdays. And same thing happens on Saturday night, right? Because you have the luxury of sleeping in on Sundays. Then what happens on Sundays is such that your body gets slightly confused. So you kind of struggle to fall asleep on Sunday night. And then that's when you feel a lot more sluggish on Monday morning. So it would be highly recommended that on weekends, we try not to deviate from our usual sleep time to wake time from more than an hour. Okay, that will help us reduce the accumulation of fatigue and help us feel fresh on Mondays. And to sum it all up, you can always measure your quality of sleep just by looking at your productivity level during the wakeful day and how dependent you are on caffeine. Oops. I am considering buying supplements to aid in my sleep. Any advice? Well, supplements should always be the last resort simply because it can be quite costly, and if we think about it long term, obviously it's not a sustainable habit to have. So let's look into natural ways, okay? So natural ways, behavior, and your environmental. So what are the little habits that you kind of enjoy that puts you in a nice relaxed state before you get to bed? So it can be things like meditating, journaling, or just putting on to white noise in the background. That's for behavior. And in terms of environmental, maybe some people prefer sleeping in a really cold room, you turn down your aircon, or some people just prefer to be sleeping with the fan on. So simple environmental habits and your little behavior practices. Learn to identify them and then practice them as a routine, and then soon you'll realize that you can do without supplements. However, if you really want to purchase supplements, then a good and sensible approach to this is seek consultation with your local doctors, just so that you know that you're getting prescribed legit pills, or do more research, ensuring that the supplements that you're purchasing has been approved by the relevant authorities. Don't just quote any influencer for discount. Okay, moving on to our next question. Can I use naps to compensate for lack of sleep? Yeah, it's a common question we always get asked. Can I use naps to compensate for lack of sleep? Well, it really depends on whether or not we have the luxury of sleeping during the wakeful day, because most of us are at work, and I don't think your boss will be too pleased if you're sleeping at your desk. So in terms of naps, of course, it's better than supplements. If you can have a nap, okay, it will be highly advisable to get what we call power naps. So power naps are short and sweet. However, when someone goes in for a big nap, that's when we wake up feeling even more lethargic than before. So you know there are times where you go in for a big afternoon nap, right? And then when you wake up, you feel, why can't I get my body out of bed? And then you just tend to doze off and sleep even more. So that is what we call sleep inertia, when you wake up feeling even more lethargic than ever. So keep your naps short and sweet. Ultimately, a nap should help you feel a lot more recharged and energized. So, back to the question, can I use naps to compensate for lack of sleep? Well, naps are just mainly what we call the recharge time during the day, but ultimately your nap can't replace a good night's sleep of at least 7.5 to 8 hours. So stick to that. Alright guys, thanks for watching this episode. If you have a question that you would like to ask any of our active health experts, feel free to send them through to us and hopefully we'll be answering your question in the next episode. Typically, what time you all sleep?